So now that we have our collar, we're going to attach it to the hollow form.
Can you pass that piece around?
Sorry?
Can you pass that one piece around?
Sure.
You're not doing anything with it.
No, I don't need it. You can feel the weight of that.
So once you turn it, you reduce the weight in half?
Pass the two together. And you can feel the weight by comparison.
Well, how are you going around it?
No, that was one that was already. This is the one I've just done. So I prepared a hollow form here. I turn all my hollow forms on face plates. I find it nice and solid, and I can afford to buy about a dozen face plates, whereas I couldn't afford that many chucks. So at this point I would have hollowed it out. Depending on, to answer your question, sometimes the collar is pre-prepared and sometimes it's not. So I've got an idea of how big a hole to hollow through. The obvious advantage is that you end up with a product with like a really tiny hole. The pesky woodturners can't stick their fingers in to feel how good you did on the inside. But you're able to hollow through a pretty big hole, which obviously makes hollowing a whole lot easier. So for somebody myself just getting started in hollowing, it's really great because you get some nice stuff off the lathe without having to try and hollow through really, a really tiny hole. So. The first thing I've got to do now is confirm the diameter of this tenon, and I'll take my calipers and I'm going to close them in a little bit, just to be on the safe side. We're pretty much almost there. Okay, we don't have to take off a whole lot. Fortunately, we do have to take some off. What I'm trying to do, when I turn the hollow form, I try and leave the upper wall here reasonably thick, and that way I can turn a tenon or a mortise, I guess, on the thing. So I have 3 gluing surfaces to attach the collar with. So when I'm sizing this here, I'm not going to plunge all the way through. I'm only going to plunge in slightly, and I'm going to focus more on getting the diameter correct. And once I've got the diameter correct, then I'll work on getting the depth correct so that the collar sits nice and flush on the hollow form. Okay, that never happens at home. We've got the diameter correct, but I don't know if you can get this on that angle. The collar isn't sitting flush on the hollow form, so I just need to make that mortise a little deeper. And now we have the collar is sitting nice and flush on the surface there. And that's also where turning this undercut on the collar really helps to get that sitting flush on there. Otherwise you need to get the two surfaces mated very nicely, and the undercut really helps. So the next thing is to glue it into the hollow form.
Do you normally finish the hollow form, the finish on it before you glue it on?
Thank you. I would normally apply a coat of shellac as a sagging sealer first, for two reasons. First, in that I will put shellac on everything before I put my final finish on. Secondly, if I do get any, I use 5-minute epoxy to glue this in, and if I do get any that squeezes out, it's a whole lot easier to wipe it off the shellac surface than the wood surface. And then by the time I've sprayed my final finish on, you don't see the epoxy is not as noticeable.
So you're putting your final finish on the pewter as well?
Yes. Yeah. The pewter gets, I finish with waterborne lacquer. I spray it on, and the color gets, the pewter gets sprayed as well. And I'm assuming that that's also going to help reduce the tarnishing of it over time. It's a protective film over it. So what I would do at this point, so I use my 60-degree live center, and I would mix up some 5-minute epoxy, and I'm not going to glue this one in because I don't want you guys to have to sit here for 10-15 minutes waiting for epoxy to dry.
Here, 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm good. I should be fine. Thank you. So I would take the pewter, the epoxy, and spread it inside the mortise, and then press that in. And I'm still very focused on trying to keep everything lined up with the center of the lathe. So I'd bring that in, and I would leave it like this, and I'd actually turn the lathe and let it run slowly. It was a little off kilter there. I use the tailstock to press it in, and I leave it like that for 10 or 15 minutes on the lathe. And then I just set it aside, and the next day I come back and I turn the bottom of the hollow form off, and so I have another one prepared here, and basically I've turned as much of this off as I can. I wanted to give myself a fighting chance for the demo. I had applied the shellac, and I had, this was some spalted magpul, and it had some nice spalting in one spot, but the rest was kind of yucky color, so I just dyed it, and I have my epoxy glued, my collar epoxied in here. Again, still focusing on turning things around and keeping everything lined up. Is everybody familiar with these? And I forget what it's called. Is it a tailstock adapter or something like that?
It's an alignment tool for reverse chucking.
Right. You can screw your chuck or your faceplate onto this and then put it in the tailstock and bring it up to your vacuum chuck or your donut chuck, and everything's still aligned while you get everything tightened up. The disadvantage of this is that it's fixed, so you can't rotate and make sure. One way is still a little adapter which screws on to your live center. I looked at this and I realized it was made out of two pieces of metal, two different metal, and I took my transfer punch and I punched out the mortise, and then I threaded in a 3/4 by 10 thread there, so now I'm able to thread this on here. Thread that on there. Oops. Oh, there you go. Now in theory everything is still nicely lined up, and I bring up screw my 27-cent chuck into there. I'm not too sure about the alignment of this lathe. Let's see. Oops.
I don't think it's lined up.
Bigger hammer.
We're running fairly true there. Okay. In the interest of time, I don't normally finish that off and put a couple of grooves in and stuff like that. But that demonstrates and that would be the hollow form complete with a pewter collar.
Thank you, Ed.
Sorry?
Want to pass that around?
Sure.
Say, being metal and you have the wood, have you had the experience of, since wood's like a sponge, gonna crack, pop out?
I've been turning all my hollow forms end grain with that in mind, because I get a lot less warping and movement of the wood, and so no, I haven't had any issues. Well, actually, when you saw this, I turned this on Saturday, and you can see when I turned the tenon that it hadn't warped a whole lot at this point. And so I think if you were turning side grain, it might become a problem, but turning end grain, it reduces the likelihood of a problem.
Thank you, Keith.